Well, welcome to another episode of SoFly. Here we are, July 31st, and we're recording the day before this episode comes out because it comes out tomorrow on August 1st. So this is, as we sometimes call it, a hot off the presses show. I don't have an effect for that, but I guess this one will have to do.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode. My name is Mitch. Of course, we've got Aldo.
Hey, everybody.
We've got Yilma.
I'm just kidding. Hi.
Yeah, it's an audio podcast.
Yeah, it's an audio podcast.
Yeah,
you gotta
you
say
have to
things.
say hello. I'm excited to be back here recording. I know the last two shows. It was you two guys without me because I wasn't there. So I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, we
here.
missed you, Mitchie. We missed you out east.
I'm happy to be back on the show. Yeah, I know I missed out
We
east.
did.
It sounded awesome. Podcasts were great. But of course today we're taking a break from our out east trip, obviously, to talk about something else. We've got a very special guest on the show here today. David Brotzman, of course, runs the account on Instagram known as Very Good Fly Fishing, but he is, of course, much more than his Instagram account. He was born in Colorado Springs and then shortly moved to Rochester, New York, where he grew up. In his high school years, he was a professional touring musician, which, how did you find the time for algebra? But soon developed a love for all things film and photo.
I didn't.
He moved into his position as a director of photography and video producer at Tone's Studio and began fly fishing in 2020, of course, creating Very Good Fly Fishing to share some of the adventures he's had with friends and family. He loves fishing for trout in general, especially as we've called on the show LRBs, lake run brown trouts, especially in the fall. Currently, he's on a road trip full-time on the road with his wife, Taylor, and their cat, Fran, fishing, filming, and falling more in love with the sport every day. But today, he is on the podcast, SoFly. Dave, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. What an honor.
Yeah, thanks for calling in from the woods. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see David's absolutely blasts us away in terms of video background because he's in.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you calling in from there, David?
We're in Silverton, Colorado, just about an hour and a half outside Durango.
Jeez Louise. I mean,
it's
quite
pretty
literally.
nice.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous. I mean, if you see me swatting at mosquitoes, there's a ridiculous amount of those here, but you won't see it on the audio version, so it's fine.
That's just the way it goes when you're recording in the woods. And you
Right,
just
exactly.
got done with a trip with the Reddington team out that way, did you not?
The Reddington.
Reddington.
I thought I saw the
Reddington.
I thought I saw the
team
Reddington.
there, eh?
Reddington. crew.
Reddington.
The Reddington, baby. Yeah, no, it was awesome. Bunch of cool people I haven't met before. I know you guys are friends with a few of the people that were on there, are on the trip, but it was awesome. Filmed for a little bit and caught a ton of fish, which is
Sick.
a good trip all around. Yep, it's beauty.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
That's awesome because when Mitch and I went, we had a bit of a grind. Not that we didn't have fun, we had a blast, but
Oh, yeah.
it was hot in Montana
Yeah, you guys
when
had to,
we got
you
the
had to work
opportunity to
for
go
it.
with them.
Yeah, a little bit.
I know. Yeah, we got it set up pretty well. It was pretty cool. There was a bunch of people, a bunch of locals who were just kind of helping us out, pointing us in the right direction. But no, they set us up for success for sure because it was just like fish after fish after fish. So it was super sweet.
Oh, that's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was following along on the Instagram. It looked like a splendid trip and lots of good peeps, lots of good trout. So that's cool.
Yeah, can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong with that, baby. Well, maybe why don't we just kind of start off as we normally do with guests, just kind of
Sure.
talking a little bit about who you are as a person and as an angler. How'd you get into fly fishing, and how'd that whole thing begin for you?
Oh man, yeah. No, so fly fishing is fairly new to me. I think you might have mentioned in the bio there. It's only really as of like 2020 that I picked up a fly rod for the first time, and I mean, really, it came out of like. I grew up going to this camp up in the woods in the Adirondacks, kind of out in New York and stuff, and we like did outdoor activity, but then I like would come home every year and spend the other not 3 months of the summer just like in the city or doing things like wasn't super outdoorsy or whatnot, but I do always remember just like having that feeling of loving being out in the outdoors, fishing, doing all that sort of stuff. And I guess kind of as that year where we were all locked in our houses for a little bit, started to come to like a close, I kind of jumped back into fishing. I bought a boat, just a really out of the whim. Most of my decisions are on a whim. Buying a van, building a boat, or buying a boat, and all that sort of stuff. It's all just kind of comes out of nowhere. But kind of wanted to get into some fishing. Me and my dad went and raided a local sporting goods store there, Dick's Sporting Goods. Got some
Nice.
like bass casters and some like massive like Rapala rigs and stuff, and we're just like went up to a lake that only has like bluegill in it, so we were catching next to nothing. But yeah, I mean it was super fun. Came back that year, and my buddy was like, "Hey, you should come fish for salmon with me." And I was like, "What? We have that?" He's like, "Yeah, like literally right through town, like right where I live." And so he was like, "But you probably should get a fly rod. Like it'll be more fun on a fly rod." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, heck yeah." So I got a fly rod. And he hooked me into like a 30-pound Chinook salmon, and I lost
Wow.
my mind and literally never wanted to stop fly fishing after that point. It was insane.
It's not bad, yeah. That's a nice fish.
No.
That's the first fish
It
you
wa-
caught
it
on the
was-
fly rod?
Yes, yeah, first fish on the
Wow,
fly rod
Jesus.
was yeah, he did a good job guiding me into that fish. But it was crazy. It was like right at the peak, and it was also one of the last years too that we had like a really, really healthy run of salmon up through New York and Western New York and all that sort of stuff. So it was really just like it didn't feel fair. You'd cast in like a egg sucking leech or something like that, and you just like hook on in a couple seconds, and you're just fighting for your life. Especially me, I'm like a whopping 5'5", so I thought that the sucker was gonna pull me into the water. It was crazy, but it was sick. I mean, that's really what just got like the fishy feeling in me, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's cool. You started in 2020. Like that's pretty neat because I bet a lot of people listening also started in 2020, a year when there was really nothing to do but explore nature and I mean like get into things like fly fishing. Was it
Right.
you got pretty good at it pretty quick and got pretty obsessed with it? I mean, how often were you fishing in 2020?
Oh yeah, no. So in 2020, I mean, we were all working from home, and
Yeah.
I mean, I it was pretty much every single day. It was every single day, and then, I mean, with most of my other hobbies as well, like if I like something, I'm gonna lock in, and I'm gonna lock in for a long time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I grabbed it and I just went. I mean, I bought so much gear, it's insane. But yeah, I mean that's the one part of it too is I love the gear. The outdoor aspect of it is super fun. It's super like
Yeah.
quiet. Life as a DP and in the production industry, as you guys know, is just like constantly just going and going and going
Yeah.
and stuff. And so you'll be on set for like a 12-hour day, and then you have like an 8-hour day the next day, and it's completely different content, all that sort of stuff. And so
Yeah.
yeah, fishing was a sweet little release and getting into the wild and kind of finding some streams and finding out that Rochester has a crazy fishery as well, like just amazing trout up in that area.
I was gonna say myself, like, if, for those of you that might not know, or even if you live in the area, or if you live in Southern Ontario, like, by all means, I know we've mentioned it on the podcast about Rochester with Amber, but like all the tributaries coming out of Lake Ontario and all the Adirondack streams, it's a wicked place to be into fly fishing. There's so much trout
Yeah.
and other stuff that, like you were mentioning, like the lake runs, all the lake run stuff, and bass and whatnot. Like, that's a great place to learn how to fly fish.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's
Like-
it's crazy. There's always like I mean there's a decent amount of streams that hold some nice sized fish. Definitely being out west right now, I'm losing my mind over like the average fish in some of these
Right.
some of these rivers and stuff. But it's definitely insane. There's so many fish. There's so many areas you can kind of just get out of the city. And be in nature for hours and hours without seeing another person, which is insane because I didn't think that existed that close to home. So Rochester's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good, like, interesting little. It's pretty close to us too. Like here in Toronto, like we got to
Yeah.
go over there a little
Yeah.
bit more, right? Like,
Yeah, it takes
Yeah,
it's less
well-
time than driving to Temagami.
yeah, let's go to Rochester. To Rochester.
So wait, you just mentioned the average over there, David. What are we talking about?
Yeah, no. So I think we did a float right, kind of straight through the center of the Durango yesterday. Oh no, maybe a couple days ago. But anyways, we're like there's like 15 to 20-inch fish in there, but that's what you see the whole time. It's like it's pretty nuts. And then like like every once in a while you'd have something 20 and up just like come out of the depths and chase a streamer or something like that. It's like insane. But like back home, I like my average fish is like 7 to 10 inches potentially. And every once in a while you hook into a fish and you're like, oh my,
all good.
Like I don't have the equipment for
Sounds
this.
like same
like,
here, yeah.
If it's anything over like 10 inches,
when
you
did
start
you,
to panic
like,
a little bit.
So the day, like
so
after high school,
it is,
you know,
it's just crazy.
Right, just crazy. So after high school, you were just you were a traveling musician or whatever, and then when did like the DOPing and the interest in videography and photography start?
Good question.
Yeah, so when we were on the road, I kind of picked up photography, and I was kind of going pretty hard with that. And I got back to Rochester. A lot of my friends were also into photography, so like whenever we went out somewhere, we all had cameras. We'd all just be shooting a ton of stills. So I was like, I'm just going to try video. And so I picked up a camera, taught myself a bunch of stuff, ended up teaching myself editing, got a job, like contracting with this big nonprofit, and eventually started just kind of like learn by like trial and error. Like I just had to go for it because it was like I was getting asks and then had to learn. And so, yeah, I kind of taught myself all that sort of stuff, and then slowly started to seep into like the actual industry in Rochester, where like I was actually like DOPing shoots, or I was cam opping or something like that. And then eventually landed at Tone Studios, the place that I currently work for, as like head of studio, DP, video producer. Pretty much, we have a lot of hats. We're a pretty small studio, but it's a ton of fun working with the guys over there, and I guess we all kind of like just teach each other a bunch of stuff, but we've all managed to like slip our way somehow like to the forefront of the industry in Rochester. So we're all just shooting and editing, and we have recording studio as well, and those guys are absolute wizards when I send audio and whatnot that I need to them. But yeah, it's really weird. I feel like I like got into video stuff like the crazy back door of like getting into that industry. But yeah, it's opened a ton of doors for me. I mean, obviously with the page, and then some of the companies that we all work with and all that sort of stuff, and being able to shoot and being helpful on those types of trips and stuff has been pretty sweet.
Yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt. And now you're living the van life. So how does that
living the van life? Yeah. It was a crazy little leap that we took. I think when I had started the account, Taylor, my wife, and I were just trying on the weekends, like weekend warrior through and through, like trying to get as far as we can, and then we have to come back. And so it'd be like, do all that, get as far as we can, like throw ourselves into the woods, go searching for trout as far as we could in New York. Sometimes we could just cross the border into like Pennsylvania or something. And we were kind of sitting one day and we were like, man, what if we just like got a van and went as far as we could, and just traveled the country and like fished and posted on the account and did all that sort of stuff and filmed as we went. And she was like, yeah, why don't we do that? And I was like a little bit expecting her to be like, nah, that's insane. But she was like, yeah, that could be fun. I was like, wait, what? And so it kind of started the chain of events where basically, I mean, I obviously am remote right now for the company that I work for, editing and doing all that sort of stuff, but also just fishing, and we bought a van, and in 8 months set ourselves a timeline where I had to convert it from a completely empty vehicle to a fully livable space that we'd both be comfortable in. It was crazy. It was a time crunch for sure. By the time we had our first like kind of go about with the van and whatnot, which actually was with Aldo and a few of the boys in Toronto, we were like just finishing painting, or like just putting like the last screws and stuff. Like it was the tightest crunch of time ever. But we couldn't be happier. I mean, it works. That's the craziest part. I picked up a drill for the first time in October of last year, and nothing's broken. And it works. We have electricity and water.
Did you guys design? Did you design it all yourself? Like, it's like the van is wicked. Like, the layout's amazing. It looks sick. Like, it's beautifully done like itself. It's not just functional; it like looks really nice.
Yeah, no,
Um,
Taylor and I she and I kind of went over like the floor plan and how we wanted it set up, what would best work for us. I obviously knew I
Yeah.
had to carry a ton of video equipment. We had to carry a ton of fishing equipment. Like there's just I pick all of the hobbies or the passions that have literally endless amounts of gear.
Yeah.
And so we had to figure out how to get all that sort of
That's true.
stuff in there, get shower and a toilet and water and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it was tough trying to figure it out, but we both are kind of fairly inclined when it comes to like decorating a space or getting things
Yeah.
kind of homey. And she kind of just told me what she wanted, and I did my best to make it happen. And I think we got pretty dang close, closer than I
Best, I
thought
think,
that
is what
we
he was
would
going
get.
to say. I imagine it was best. Have you seen the van, Yelma?
I have not seen the van.
Like, I've only seen pictures, but it looks fucking sick.
It's pretty fucking sick.
It's on his IG, I'm assuming.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, sorry, David. I think you're back.
I'm here now.
Welcome back.
Welcome
Thanks.
back, David.
Sorry if this is happening more than it normally does.
It's
No,
totally
it's
fine.
totally
man.
fine.
Totally
No,
fine.
it-
Uh,
Yeah,
we're,
you're saying-
we're just saying that, if people want to see the van, they can go check out the Very Good Van build on Very Good Fly Fishing, because it looks very good.
Yeah, it
Hold
stays true
on.
to the name, which is great. Thankfully I didn't like shoot for like excellent van build or like the perfect van build, so not a super high standard to hold to. But yeah, no, there's stuff on Insta and TikTok and all that sort of stuff. We are doing a full walkthrough of it very soon. We're just starting to slow down from like the absolute sprint across the country to come up to Alberta and then come down and whatnot. But yeah, we kind of like got into that like crazy rush at the end and filmed everything but didn't post as much, so we just have a ton of backlog stuff where we're gonna do a little countdown thing and get the full van reveal and get it in some beautiful scenery as we've been filming it, getting drone shots in the mountains and in Banff and all that sort of stuff. And so
Sick.
yeah, hopefully we can make it like worth everybody's 8 months of waiting for me to finish
I love
the
it,
thing.
man. Yeah. So what's the plan? Like, do you have a YouTube channel, David, like that you're going to start like doing regular ongoing blog type of van life stuff? Or is it sort of just, keeping it separate?
Yeah, no, so I do have a YouTube channel. It's the same everywhere because thank goodness Very Good Fly Fishing wasn't taken.
Great
in,
name.
That is
in
really
any,
good name.
any yeah, I know, in any capacity. So that worked out. So it is the same thing across all platforms. I've started a daily vlog type of thing. You guys also have one. It's actually kind of where I got the inspiration from. And that's just like super dumbed down, easier stuff. So I'm not lugging around like a 10-pound cinema camera into the woods every time I go fishing. But yeah, just stuff to keep people updated. And then every once in a while, we've done maybe two probably what could be full-length films. One I filmed actually with Amber, who's been on the show before. Did a couple of interviews with her and some of the locals in Alberta about native species in Alberta and kind of just what's affecting them and what's going on with all that, because I know that there's two sides of the coin on bull trout and cutthroat and things that come from up there. So I wanted to do a little story if I was going to be in that area and knew a bunch of people who had a ton of insight on it. So yeah. Little stories and whatnot will be up there every once in a while, fully fleshed out stuff, and
Awesome.
the rest of the time it's just me running around with a phone.
That's awesome. Yeah,
David,
that's the way
yeah.
to do it,
David, all these equipment, all these loves that you have now. What about your guitar? Do you have room for the guitar in there? Like,
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
assuming
we
you
actually
do.
Yeah, no, so when Aldo saw it last, it was shoved into the bathroom because I had yet to find a storage solution for it. But now we have it mounted up on the wall in the back of the van,
Nice.
super easy accessible. It's like just kind of sitting up there. I can just grab it if I need to. And it's super nice to have. I know I have all these like
Yes.
decompressing things that I do, which is like 90% of the time living in the wild, editing mindlessly, and then music when all else fails.
Yes. Good.
Yeah.
Love it, man.
Now,
Oh, yellow.
well, because David's you just been in the fly fishing world a few years now, and you're like a pro. Like what's next for you, man? And I know that's sort of like the end question, but I just want to know, like, what about salt? What's happening? What are you dreaming of
Oh
next?
man, I gotta get to the salt. Aldo's been talking it up ever since I met him. He's always talking about bonefish, and I mean, even seeing your guys' videos, it's like other creators and stuff that I've seen on YouTube and Instagram and all that sort of stuff are the people that I like draw the most inspiration from, especially when I get to like meet them and hang out with them. It's like with you guys. And it just makes me like so pumped every time I see you guys get stoked about saltwater stuff. And I have like this like feeling that I think I know what it would feel like to be in your shoes, but like I just can't wait to experience it myself. I cannot wait to do salt stuff.
The photography and videography will change as well.
It's so
Yeah.
cool. It's inspiring.
Oh,
On that
man.
note, do you find it inspiring or daunting to be in the woods with a camera all the time? Because sometimes I feel like, now that we're shooting so much, we're lucky to shoot as much as we do, but sometimes, like right now, we're sitting on a mountain of stuff to edit. Sometimes I'm just like, oh man.
Like, oh shit, what did we do?
Like we have so many ideas
Yeah.
and we're so excited that we like, capture all this stuff. I sometimes find it daunting. So I'm just curious because you do such a good job at turning around content. And I know there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we don't see and, maybe stresses we don't
Oh, thank you.
aren't privy to, but I'm just trying to figure out like, do you find it daunting or inspiring or maybe somewhere in between?
Yeah, I think there is something inspiring about sitting on footage for a little bit. Like, I think like the more that it festers and the more that I get stoked about an idea, like I think sometimes the faster I come in after that like waiting period, and then it just gets crushed. Like that video's done in like 10 hours sounds like a long time, but in the video world it's like so little amount of time. But like if I just like sat down and had like a day and was able to crush out something because I was just so inspired by not only the shoot but just like the people and the story and all that sort of stuff as it kind of like just comes to fruition in my brain. So yeah, I think there's a daunting portion of it. I think first and foremost, carrying the equipment that I have onto a float boat is horrifying. In the practical side of thing, like it's not just like a GoPro. Like this sucker will sink straight to the bottom if I let it. So there's a daunting aspect to that. I think getting content out is always like a daunting feeling. It kind of, if you let it, it can kind of get control of your brain and you feel like it's a super stressful thing to just like push stuff out. But I think coming back to reminding myself that this is absolutely what I love. Like I love sharing my experiences, my stories, the stories of other people through the page and through anything that I possibly can, whatever medium it is. Very good.
Very fun.
Yeah, it's cool. It could be. I mean, just speaking of like content creation and all that kind of stuff, it's fun. But I know what you mean. Like sometimes there's so many like facets to it, like in terms of like staying inspired or putting out something that you're like thinking too much about and not putting anything out forever because you're like sweating it too much, But
yeah,
no, I mean, I think it's fun. It's a fun thing, anyways. Especially if it's just sort of like something you're kind of building on the side and have another job,
Yeah, I think too, like when it did get like super overwhelming, I think like when we were in the midst of the van build and like every single night I was working till like 2 a.m. like hammering and nailing stuff.
Right.
For people who know about van builds, I didn't hammer anything. If that like worries you, I'd used a lot of nails. But I think that was like one of the only points in kind of with the page where I was like, oh, like I'm not getting stuff out. I feel bad. I feel like I'm like letting followers down or like something like it just to be guilty of. But I think coming back into it, people were even more excited to be like, okay, like here we are, we're ready to go. And then just stuff is going to come from this. There's just going to constantly be inspiration. There's always fun stuff to just be documenting on the road where I think people are enjoying like following along with all that sort of stuff, which is fun.
Well, speaking of following along, why don't we talk about a couple recent fishing trips? Because you were just in Alberta. Was there one before Alberta, or did you guys kind of beeline it out there?
Well, there was one really special trip with a couple of people from Toronto.
Right. Of course.
Oh yeah,
Of course.
Yep.
I mean,
that's so far being the highlight. Was with Aldo and the crew.
Catching
couple
nothing.
of chefs out on the water. No, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick had a couple of good-looking fish, which was good.
Yeah.
Helped us stay unskunked.
That's
But
good.
I'm gonna be honest. I have never floated anything beforehand, and I don't know if I'm spilling too many secrets
No.
about the trip or anything. But no, I've never floated anything.
Was that your first float?
Yeah, 100%. I
We
live
just
in
put him on the
Rochester.
Watermaster.
Wow.
We're like, here you go.
Yeah.
I was like, in my mind, I was like, Josh will show him stuff because I'm trying to figure out our raft for the first time too.
Yeah, that's right. It was our first float for our first raft, and it was your first float
Yep.
on a Watermaster. That's awesome. And how did
Yeah,
you
it was
like
my
it? What
first
was
time.
yeah.
It was my first time floating anything, let alone using
Yeah.
paddles or anything.
Right.
I own a boat, and that sucker has an engine on it. So
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what to do, and I looked to Josh, and Josh is halfway down the river, and I was like, okay, we're gonna stay straight. We're gonna try
Yeah.
and stay straight. It was
Yeah.
fun though. I mean, hearing Aldo give direction to the other guys, and knowing that Aldo's been on quite a few floats, it was very helpful actually, because then immediately we went on another float in Alberta, and I kind of had an inkling of an idea of what to do, and it was it just makes it more helpful for your guide, and when he's not telling you how to actually be on the boat, and he's just telling you how to fish. So I think it was a pretty sweet thing, and also seeing kind of the maiden voyage, doesn't hurt.
That was kind of fun.
It's a sweet raft. It's a beautiful river.
Yes.
I mean, every second of that entire way down, you're like, there's no way a fish isn't gonna eat that. This is the water's too good. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. It's a beautiful float too.
Yeah. Honestly, normally that is, we just ended up on a really hot, low water day, which obviously is never good because
just walking the
normally
boat a little
that river, is like you said, it's a beautiful float with a lot of great holding water. But no, I mean, for us East Coasters who walk and wade a lot, fishing from doing a drift in a drift boat is totally different. Your mentality's got to change. You're always looking downriver, where we're casting behind the boat, and you're like, no. You got to cast at what's coming at you, because by the time the line actually hits the water, you're already beside your target. So it's kind of interesting.
You're already in a world of mending hurt if you're fishing how we're used to it. And I mean, I felt that for sure. I mean, the first maybe 2 hours of the float we did in Alberta, which this guy, his name was Ty, and he was so kind. He just took us out. He was like, if you're ever in town, I'll take you out. And he just he DM'd me, and we were actually meeting with a couple of his other buddies. So he just came over. He's a guide of all guides. He brought chocolate cake for dessert. He brought a whole chocolate cake, and he made all of our meals. He made us these Italian sandwiches, but they had to be cooked the night before. There was an extensive lunch on the boat. So it was the first couple hours were me grinding and remembering how to fish, and him he's no, it's you're shooting way ahead. I mean, the crazy part about Alberta too, and I think it's like this for a lot of waters out here, but we're shooting towards where I would be walking, where I would be stepping in the water. That's where my fly needs to land. And so learning on all these waters, oh my goodness, it's crazy. And I pulled a 22 inch brown trout out of water that I would have I would have been standing in. I would have been stomping in all that water. And so it's crazy. There's so many things to fishing, and I don't think that I know it all by any means. I've only been in it a little bit. You guys have years on me, but it's the amount that I'm learning feels that's insane. It's insane how much there is to fly fishing, and how much
it's not gonna stop,
you
David.
can. Yeah, you'll never stop learning. is what I'm finding. But tons of cool little trips. Alberta was dope. I actually didn't catch a bull trout on that trip, surprisingly enough.
But your wife did.
But
Yep. Taylor caught a beast of a bull trout.
it was a huge bull trout, man. It was a nice
my
fish.
gosh, she could barely hold it. And when I mentioned before, I'm a whopping 5'5", Taylor is 4'11", and even smaller than I am. And so that fish, one little good whip, and it would have just sent her right in the water. No, it was insane. These guys took us. Okay, this is the thing. They only took us 2 miles into the to the forest or something.
Okay.
And we've never experienced high altitude or at least anything like what that was. Like I think we were like 8,000 or something like that feet in altitude.
Wow.
And we were like dying. I was like we're like 2 hours into this hike because it's not just like 2 miles straight. It's 2 miles cresting 2 major mountains in the Rocky Mountains. And so like we didn't really have that far technically to go. But it just really, I mean, it wiped us. It wiped us out. It was insane. But at the end of it, we got a bull trout. Oh man, you can see the winds picking up. It's crazy.
Your
over the
mic
mountains.
is wicked. I don't hear
Is it-
shit.
Can't even hear the wind.
Yeah, your mic's
Oh,
awesome.
okay. I was gonna say. I was like, I bet you guys are hearing like, but
Nope.
as
Nah,
long as
I'm
it's
just seeing the hammock behind you go.
Yeah.
beautiful. That's why we're using a shotgun today. Shotgun.
There we go.
Oh man, it's all I had. It's all I had in there. But yeah, fun trip so far. I mean, I can go into the Durango one if you want me to.
Yeah, please. I mean, we were lucky
Sure.
enough to do a rodeo with the Reddington crew last year, so we know how much fun that can be, and so I'm stoked that you got to meet people like
yeah.
Gene and Kayla and Casey. Like those,
Yeah,
that's a fishy, fun group of people to learn from. That's for sure.
yeah.
And Brendan
no,
too. Brendan Toner was there too, and he's
Dude.
awesome, eh?
dude,
Such
he
nice
is
guy.
a beast. He was just
Yeah.
absolutely, because you guys had Amber on the show, and Brendan. Oh my goodness! Like every 5 seconds we look over and Brendan has a massive fish on.
Yeah, he's
like
pretty dialed.
Dave, yeah, he's just always like, yeah, man, I just saw it there, I cast it to it, and it wanted it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Brendan, like he was crushing, and he's so nice too. Like everybody in the Reddington crew is
He's fucking
just, yeah, no, just everyone in the Reddington crew is just like so kind.
Yeah.
And they're so welcoming. Like the trip, it just from the start was just like, oh, we're gonna have fun. Like this is gonna be so much fun.
Yeah.
We started out on like a small. Actually, the day the last float that we did was on the same river we started on, and it was crazy. I mean, like we hit this one section where I guess they had just stocked a bunch of fish, so there was some like little dinky, like cutthroat and rainbows in the system that were just kind of hanging out, and so we kind of moved down a little bit. A couple people got onto some good fish, a lot of rainbows in the system. I think Brendan got onto
Nice.
a brown, which was which was sick because it was massive. Like he's throwing like hopper droppers, and I think he got it to take on the dry fly, and which was sick.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no,
That's always fun.
That's always a
nuts.
wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing in Alberta. Like these fish don't like come up and slam the fish like they do back home. Like back home, if they see a dry and they want that dry, they're gonna come out of the water for it. Here, it's like you see the fly disappear. It just looks like the dropper got taken, but it's like this giant brown is underneath the surface and just opened his mouth and
Right.
it fell in, and you're like, oh my gosh. So when you set into something like that, it's like you didn't think that there was a fish there. There's no way there was a fish there because you're just looking for way more signs of a big take. But yeah, he got a beautiful fish on the initial day, and then we set off into the mountains for the second day. It's actually not far from where we are now. And what's crazy is like out east, we're like stoked about brook trout. Like
Yeah.
brookies are so cool because they're native to that entire area. And here it's not as cool to catch a brookie. But we found these little ponds that are just filled with them. They're just glass, alpine little lakes, and ponds and marshes. And everywhere you go, you just can cast all day, and you're catching like brookies all over. And they're like beautiful brookies too. They're all colored up like beautiful red, those white char characteristics on the fins and whatnot. And so it's really, really cool because I just get stoked about everything. And like you got some of the locals here who are like, oh, it's just a brookie, and I'm like, it's a brookie, man. Like that is a beautiful looking fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a bright color red. Like I just get stoked about everything. And then I mean, even coming out this way, like my first couple of cutthroat were on this trip as well. And so like
Amazing.
we
I
don't
love
have
cutties.
we don't have any cutthroat. Yeah, they're beautiful. And like
Yeah.
we did some mountain streams and some like little areas here where it's like it's like 70 or 80 degrees and the water's like 40. Like you're like, what? Like
Wow.
it's hot to like wet wade, and then all of a sudden you get in the water and you can't feel your toes. So it's like,
Yeah.
Right.
it's crazy. It's just like healthy trout fisheries, and like, I mean, really what you're supposed to be like, what's good for the fish to, like to catch them in. Where back home we got to stop. Like there's times in the summer where it's like, okay, the water's way too hot. Like we have to target something else, or we just don't fish. And so, yeah, it's really cool to see these areas where we can just like drive an hour and a half, and we're in a spot where it's like completely fine to target trout, because they're in healthy systems. There's tons of food. It's really cool to watch them eat dry fly all day. And then I mean, little mountain streams, first couple cutthroat, and then the day after that we went up to this private lake, which was sick. We got access. I mean, these guys were like going through there was this gated access type of situation into where we were, and they had to disinfect everything that we owned that's ever touched water. So like our bags, our rods, our reels, chacos, like if it had touched the water in the last couple of days, they needed to disinfect it. And it was really just like boiling water. But it's because zebra mussels are like a crazy problem for big lakes up here. Like there's some that just don't have any population, and that's what's keeping these massive fish in there, like in healthy systems. And so we go there, and I think the smallest fish that we caught that day was 22 inches, and I think that was my fish.
Oh my God.
Like,
smallest.
That's a nice fish.
Just mountain cutthroat, and like they're humongous. It was insane. And the craziest part is back home, like you'll be lucky to catch a bluegill off the dock or something like that. But here it's like I was standing just in front of the dock, casting out into like maybe a foot worth of water, and I see this big pink swipe. I see another big pink swipe, huge flash, and then boom! It took like a 2-inch streamer, and I'm like,
damn,
what is this place? Like, it's absolutely insane. Just like some of the biggest fish I've ever seen, and I'm just like, I'm stoked to not only to be there, but not to have my rod snapped in half, because of course I'm on a 5-weight, because like we don't fish anything bigger than that back home. And so I mean it's crazy how much a 5-weight can handle, but I'm on like 4X, because like that's all I own. It's just like
you didn't raid Ethan's supply.
I know. Well, so that was the thing, is until like maybe
we'll find out.
I'll wait for you guys to come back.
There he is.
Oh, there we go. We're back.
You're back. Okay. Yeah, no, the crazy thing is that, like, not until maybe when I went up to see Amber and Brendan, when I remembered that, like, we're also partnered with Rio. And I was like, oh, like, what am I thinking? I was like, I absolutely need to ask for some stuff like that. So, like, yeah, no, like, Ethan, of course, brought, like, a crazy box of goodies. And that was awesome. Rio flies are gorgeous. They're really nice flies.
Yeah.
The hoppers here for brookies in the fall. They're fucking sick.
They crush. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's incredible. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is I've never fished a hopper before. Like even back home, we'll have like big grasshoppers, like off of our streams in Rochester, and the fish don't want that for some reason. Like they're going after like tiny caddis or like small stuff, or it's all subsurface. And so it's really cool. It's really satisfying to chuck a giant hopper out here. Like in Alberta, we were throwing stoneflies, but their stoneflies are like 2 inches.
Totally.
Yeah.
And to have a fish take that, it's like a topwater streamer. Yeah. It's insane.
Satisfying.
So yeah, it's really cool. I think all these experiences are like, not only is it really cool to learn from like some of the people that like I idolized as I started my account, like as I was just kind of getting into the Instagram and social media version of fly fishing and stuff. All these people were people that I looked up to a ton, like including you guys. You guys were like one of the first couple accounts that I followed.
Come on.
No way.
So no, seriously, yeah.
awesome.
I think I can prove it. Yes. But no, it's crazy to meet all these people, and not only like meet them but learn from them, like is really, really cool. Like having Casey Badger like take a second to like show me some tips for casting, because I don't have to cast that far in my streams. like I could probably just like roll my arm and I'm on the other side of the stream. And so him like giving me some crazy casting tips, and Brendan like, I mean honestly like showing me some like prime ways to fish a streamer, and Kayla like talking about like bodies of water and showing me like stuff with dry fly and how she casts some things, and like it's just really cool to learn from people who've been in it for a long time, and it shows. Like it's really cool. So it's like a huge honor to like, I mean, number one, be on like this podcast, which is crazy because I've been listening to it for a bit, but like meet these people, film with these people, and like just like have a good time with these people, which is just, it's crazy. And it's super fun, and like I don't know, I'm super grateful to kind of be where I'm at, and I think that's what makes it super fun, is like just having fun, but at the same time it's like shell shock a little bit for some of these things I get to do, which is really cool.
Well, you know, I mean, first of all, thank you for the kind words, and
oh yeah. Of course.
Second of all, you know, I think it's cool when you decide. Well, when you're someone like yourself who decides to jump in and try things and do things and see where the road might take you. You know, like fucking cool stuff can happen. You know, especially nowadays when the world of people like knock the Instagrams and stuff, and it's like, okay, whatever, like go knock it, whatever. But it's like, look what it can unlock. You can meet all kinds of really nice people. You can have these really cool experiences with them in places you maybe never thought you'd go. Yeah, like it's really interesting. You know, I think we're all a good case for that, you know?
Yeah, and
exactly. I think, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, someone like yourself, you did drive up and make reel cases with us in December. Yeah. It's like, you're super supportive person yourself. So, if you tend to get what you give, I think,
put out that
in
energy,
in this life.
Exactly.
So
for
I
sure.
think you're not just some guy who's like, check out my followers,
No,
like give me free stuff. You're just like you're actually like, I think I think you do, that does happen to you because you do put out a lot of really good content, and I think but I think you're pretty honest about your content too, which is really cool. Like,
you're also not one of these grumpy anglers that's like mad about everything. You're right. Although, like, whatever energy you put out, that's what you get back. If you're gonna be grumpy, like, you're fucking wallow in your grumpiness forever by yourself.
Exactly.
So.
Come on, you know what I mean?
Go have fun. You know what I mean?
Get out there. The world is your oyster.
That's what it's for. That's what it's
blanche,
for.
baby.
Oysters in the world.
There are lots of
there's oysters. There's tons of oysters. Period.
Just go out and do some shucking.
Yep.
Shuck that life.
Yeah. Now you got it, Mitchie.
I don't know what's going on.
Derailed.
What is the plan? Yeah, completely derailed. After Colorado, like, what's the big? What's like, much
the next
to
move?
like Yilma's question earlier, like, what's after? Like, do you have a route, or are you guys just kind of, just flying by the seat of your pants? Of your waders?
Yeah. Of my waders,
go.
Exactly. No, it pretty much is a good, healthy 50-50 combination of exactly that. Like, we really haven't had a solid plan. The only thing that we knew that we needed to do was go to Alberta. Like, that was like one of the biggest things, and we were like, man, this would be really cool. I'd love to make a film about it. So like, we had some like solid plans, and I don't know, like, I think kind of with this life, we've realized that there's so much stuff that like is just gonna pop up, and like, if it's the right time or it's the right thing to do, like, let's just go do it. Like, let's just drive. I think kind of more to answer your question, like, we spent our little time here in Colorado. We have some friends in Denver that we want to visit and like do some like personal stuff, but at the same time, like, going to Washington, like, and fishing that area. Like, I know, like, it's really good in the fall and all that sort of stuff. There's some stuff that Taylor wants to see out there, so like, we'd love to like shoot up to Washington and hang out, and then I think come back down more into the like Midwest-ish area, do a bunch more fishing, and then I think we're gonna head home for a little bit, just around like the see the wind again. It's going crazy back here. There's like dust flying everywhere, and like you can't even hear it.
There's just some mosquitoes up your nose.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now they're gone. They've just been blown by like a 20-mile-an-hour gust. But no, the idea is kind of just like to say yes to stuff that like sounds fun. I think like that's the biggest thing, is like there's so much that I, in my own brain, like as a DOP or like any of these other things that come with like the production industry, like there's a logistics side of my brain that wants every item to be ironed out before we even think about doing something. And I know like Aldo shares that with me as well, because we've gone on some of these trips where it's like, hey, like, are we going? Like, like we're all here.
Yeah.
Like, are we doing the trip, or like what's happening tomorrow? Like that we don't know some of these things, and so I think like finding that sweet spot of like just kind of leaving it up to the wind, and like there's a little bit of adventure in every decision. I think
totally
has been a fun little change. I think, especially when it's kind of your life. Like it's like even the stuff out here where it's like finding a spot that we're gonna like post up or sleep for the night is chosen that morning. Like, and that's kind of just the way that you have to do it, especially with like van life and all the other things that kind of like come into it. So I think like leaving a little bit open to possibility with some like rough plans has been the plan, and it seems so far to have been working out. But it's really just like kind of traveling to some of the spots that we've always wanted to go to. I know like Oregon and Utah are big on the list, and Washington, Taylor wants to be there for her birthday next week, or maybe I think in 2 weeks. And so like we just want to kind of like see stuff, experience things. I mean, we might as well, if we're traveling already and we don't really have any like things like we have to be at. I think like the Reddington thing and fishing with the guys in Alberta were like our two like kind of like stationary items that we had like on the calendar, and it was cool to get to those. But I think now we can like take it slow and kind of enjoy the time and film and like do all the stuff that like I'd love to do for the page, and get more stuff out and all the aspirations that we as content creators have. But it's kind of one big adventure, and I think we're just kind of keeping that theme so far.
Nice.
Cool, man. Spontaneous lifestyle. It's awesome. Like, why not?
I think
that's fun.
I think that's you've got to just embrace the yes if you're on the road. Like, is the whole point is to like kind of get yourself in some just funny situations.
Get in some trouble.
Exactly.
Good trouble.
Not too much trouble.
Not too much
to see what you can find, places you maybe wouldn't have gone otherwise, or or also just like go because they're right there. You're like, should we go check out this famous location? We're like a couple hours away. You know what I mean? Like,
the world's biggest soup can.
Yeah, big soup can. There was what was it? You guys ever seen like we did the whole drive through like South Dakota and whatnot, and there's like wall drug, the thing for this like ginormous thing. I don't even know what it is. Every sign says something different. And we went to, and it's one of those places that like starts 90 miles to where it's actually located. There's billboards for it, like literally outside of the state. And you get up to it, you get into the town, you're expecting to see this place that's just like 17 Walmarts big. Like you think it's going to be a ginormous warehouse, and it's not even in that town. There's a town called Wall Drug just before where the actual Wall Drug is. And it's this big place that just has everything. Cowboy boots, food, there's pies. It says like best pies, and you're like, what? You're like, what? You sell that in the same place you sell boots? And it's like, like it's crazy. I mean, I guess that's what Walmart is. They do the exact same thing, but no, it is crazy. There's stuff that we've stopped at, like the Corn Palace, that we were just like, what is that? Like, why?
What was it? What is a Corn Palace?
All right, so I'll tell you.
Oh my God, here we go.
It's okay. So this is the thing. Yeah, well, it's exactly that, and almost no more. Like we went to this place when I was younger. My mom and my little brother and I and my grandparents spent like 3 months on the road, just like traveling, because we were homeschooled for a little bit, especially when we were really young.
Cool.
And we went to this place, and I remember I was like stoked. I was like, the Corn Palace is the best. We saw the Grand Canyon. I was like, no, Corn Palace. And we get into it, and it's like it's a building that they like facade the entire thing with like over $300,000 worth of pieces of corn, and like then like they have to like their biggest like expense I think is like figuring out how to keep birds off of it. And then you go inside, and you sign this book, you get in there, it's like this big tourist attraction, you take a bunch of pictures with like things that look like corn. And then you go into a gymnasium, and that's it. There's gymnasium with like corn things. Like there's like a corn can opener and like a corn magazine. And you're like, oh man, cool. All right, what's next? And then you walk out the other door that you rope around and go through another hallway, and they're like, bye.
Well, it's in the town of Mitchell. It's called Mitchell Corn Palace.
Well, weird. We're going to have to bring you there, Mitch, I guess.
Yeah, South Dakota.
We have to bring to Mitchell, South Dakota.
You looking it up?
So, Yeah.
Mitchell,
Yeah, I'm
South
looking at it
Dakota.
right now. It looks wild, brother. Like, look
Well,
at this place.
There was a place across the street that I think was even just like a little bit more fun. Like there was this like very, very like just like stoic old guy who is like owns this little shop, and it's like kind of tucked away, and like you can buy like throwing knives in there and like just like crazy miscellaneous weapons. I think Taylor
Nice.
got like she got like a little thing that said like South Dakota on it, and I think I bought like
Yeah.
a little like corn pipe or something. I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like this big,
Nice.
but it was like between that
I
and
got
like
you one of those,
throwing
Mitch.
knives.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Nice.
I
It's
interrupted
nuts.
David. sorry.
corn cob throwing
No.
knives.
No worries. It's like it is crazy. I think like South Dakota actually was pretty sick. Like there you like
Yeah.
on one end of the things like you had the Badlands, which like was our first experience sleeping like off the grid. And we paid the $30 to get into the state park before like as we totally forgot about like state park passes here in the US and whatnot.
Right.
Paid that $30, saw like the Badlands, realized that we wanted to get to a spot before it got dark, so we like left immediately. Like we went into the first gate, like saw it, and then left. And where we camped that night was 2 inches from the edge of the Badlands, like on free dispersed land. So like it's I think you guys have it. It's
Wow.
called crown land
Yep.
in Canada,
Yeah.
where it's like you've got
Yeah.
the dispersed or like BLM type of land.
Yeah.
But out here, it was nuts. And Taylor were like, oh my gosh, like we don't have
Yeah.
to pay for camping and we can sleep on the Badlands. Like it's crazy.
That's pretty
It's awesome.
wild.
The
man.
South
It's
Dakota
nuts.
Badlands are
Sleep.
beautiful, and that
Yeah.
stream you fished. If anybody wants to go check out the very good daily vlog, that stream
Yeah,
you
little
fished on YouTube is it was amazing. It was just like a spring creek. It
Yeah.
looked like
It-
you were in the middle of the mountains.
It was like when we were fishing in Rochester for Lake Run Browns, my knees were completely numb. Like it was so cold, the runoff that we were at, like in this area, like it was nuts. And that was right off of the walk. Like I literally like walked in, first cast in, and I pulled up one of the biggest browns I've seen in a long time. And so like there's crazy waters out here, and like there's always like these little like random like right behind me, literally like maybe 10 feet behind me, where we're staying in this dispersed campground, is a little mountain brook stream filled to the brim with brook trout. Like I went out the other day with the butter stick and like was just throwing a couple dry flies. Every time like I had a fish on and I like put my rod under my arm and the fly hit the water, I caught another fish. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like,
That's
it needs to
awesome.
stop at some point, but like at the
Has
same
to
time
stop.
I'm like too excited. Like it's so much fun. Like there's just so much to learn, even out here too, like testing different tactics and stuff that I've learned and all that. It's like I'm like just as deadly, and it's probably. Did you guys hear that? Can you guys?
Yeah.
hear that?
Oh, lightning thunder, yeah.
Big thunder. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see if we start getting drenched. But no,
Yeah.
it's far away.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm
I
like,
do
yeah,
not
it's
want you to
fine.
get struck by lightning.
We're fine out here. It's like just completely
It's
drenched.
just raining, and it's like everything's okay.
Yeah,
I'll
everything's
tell you,
fine.
like a lightning strike would be not very good, but the views would be absolutely.
Oh my
off the
goodness!
charts.
through the roof. Through the roof.
Yeah.
Man dies
Oh, man.
podcasting.
First podcast experience, and takes one
And
to
the
the
last.
dome. Yep, and the last. Yep.
Well, okay. Well, maybe we should switch on over to Mitchie's Fishies.
I mean, it's been an hour
just,
just chatting, which
just
is
to
awesome.
beat the rain here.
Has it?
Yeah,
Doesn't even feel like
it has. Time flies.
yeah.
Time flies.
flies.
An hour
man.
exactly
You're having
right.
Time
fun.
flies. Yeah, time flies when you're flying fishing.
Ties.
When you're-
Wow.
Whoops.
All right, here we go. I'm going to kick off Mitch's Fishies 5. Of course, the 5 questions we ask every guest that comes on the show. And I'm going to kick it off with the first question for you, David. Today, here on SoFly, we got, what is your favorite fish and why?
Just
If
turned
you had
into
to-
Bob Barker for a second.
I don't know what's going on. It's
Like,
been a
I'm
couple
gonna-
episodes since I've been back on the show. You know,
I'm gonna win a prize at the end of the answer of the
Exactly,
question
yeah.
if it's
Plinko.
right.
It's a brand new dishwasher.
You know, I'm gonna. So is my favorite fish. Like, what's my favorite fish to catch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got to be a brook trout.
Nice.
Being from the east, yeah, I know. It's being from the east. They're like, every time you pull a brook trout out, they feel bigger than they are. Like when you like get them out of the
Yeah.
water, you're like, oh man, like those suckers decided they were gonna like like death roll in the water. Like it's just like there's so much going on, and when they take a dry, like they take them hard. So like, yeah, there's
Feisty.
always they're a fun fish. I like them. They're beautiful, and they're fun to catch.
No doubt. No freaking doubt. I totally get you. Okay, number 2 is if you could fish anywhere in the world right now, assuming it's like the best time to go and you'll have a great trip, where would you go and why? Anywhere in the world.
I'd love to go to New Zealand, I think.
Yeah.
From just some of the content that I've seen of some of the guys like fishing New Zealand, it is insanity. Like their normal fish is our like fish that we all have dreams about.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Just
New
crazy.
Zealand would be totally killer. I'm with you there. Okay, number 3, Mitch Fishies 5, is what is your best or favorite fishing memory? One of your best fishing memories.
Oh man. I think it's got to be one of the times where my dad and I were still pretty new to fishing. And I had like slowly started to figure out that like fly fishing might be a pretty effective way to fish. And so I was throwing some like woolly buggers in through like this little like a lake edge type of situation. And I was just catching fish like all over the place. It was like little bass and whatnot. And I was just having a blast like catching them. And my dad, like he was dead set that what I was using was not going to work, even though I was catching. He was being stubborn about it a little bit, but he really thought that if he threw like a whole thing of bacon on like a 7/0 or like the big old like bass hooks, that he would catch something. And the only thing he pulled out of the water that day was like 15 turtles, but not like hooked. He didn't hook them.
Yeah.
They were just grabbing onto the bacon and holding on all the way up like the bridge that he was standing on, and so like they would just go all the way up. And I mean, it felt great. We were both catching. It's just he wasn't catching fish. So I think that was a fun memory for us.
Well, Mitch has caught a turtle before. You can relate.
Yeah.
I have, yeah. I know, yeah.
Happens every once in a while.
Hook, and the hook was in the back of its shell, so it wasn't like hurting it.
Perfect.
Like it wasn't in flesh or anything like that. And then we got it right up, and it.
Yeah.
I hope, and it came off, and he swam back down. But it was like, holy smokes, that's cool though.
Dang.
I like that's good
setting
stuff, man.
setting
it's
a
kind of funny, you know?
streamer into a
fishing with pops.
turtle
I love
would
it.
be
Anytime
quite
fishing
the
with
experience.
is good. Dad or mom, it's a good time. Fishing with the parents is good.
Fishing with fam is a fun time, you know.
Friends,
You gotta fish
fam.
with fam.
Yeah.
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 I'm
Are
back.
we friends now,
okay,
or
number
are we fam now? Like, it's been a while. Sorry, I know this is not the time or place.
Hey, we're all family.
Okay, I thought
I
so.
think it's
but
family.
you gotta drink
Yeah.
Corona.
Yeah. Or
We're all
else.
family, so long as
Sponsored
you Tokyo
by-
Drift. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, number 4 is Mitchie's Fishies 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is why do you fly fish? What do you get out of fly fishing? What keeps you going back?
Oh man, I think there's a lot of reasons, and I think that there's obviously like that first and foremost thing that you think about, like, and it's like catching a fish, like that's like super fun. I think the time that I get to spend outside, and the people that I meet are like the biggest draws that like just keep me going. Like especially on a trip like this, where like we're almost always exhausted, and there's always like we're camping. We live out of a van and all that sort of stuff, and so meeting the people that like just give you a little bit more life, like with their personalities and meeting them and yeah, I think spending as much time as we get to outside, I think is like obviously I'm super super grateful for it, and I think those are, I know you said one, but those are probably like my big couple of reasons for it. I love it.
I love that. It's nice, and it's nice to kind of hear that answer from from yourself, who's gotten into fly fishing so hard in the last few years. It's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
I mean, you're one of those people. I'd say you give energy.
Hey,
you're
man.
an energy giver.
Yeah, I'll give it. I'll give it if I can.
All right. Everybody relax.
All right, everyone calm down.
All right, we got the last of the Mitchie's Fishies 5.
Sure.
Number 5 is what fly pattern represents you best and why? If you were a fly, what would you be, baby?
You know what? That's a good question. I haven't even thought about that too much. I think well, obviously that is an out of the box question. I think probably like I'd say like a copper john.
Whoa.
And
nice. Okay.
yeah, and it's because Oh wow, lot
Ooh,
lot
that
of
was a
thunder.
big thundercracker.
It's all right. We're fine. We're safe. I
Are you
can
okay?
just
We're
hop in
almost
the van
done.
if I need to. Yeah. No. The
Except for that grizzly bear behind you. Imagine.
yeah. I'm like,
I was thinking
oh
that the other
man, that's worse than the rain. Yeah. No, I think because I have a portion of my personality that is pretty like flashy and out there, and like yeah, I don't know, but I think with I don't know, maybe like getting a little deep, I can find some like consistencies in the things that I love and the people that I like to hang out with and the experiences that I like to take, and I think that because like the Copper John's kind of like a tried and true fly, and it's got that like shiny copper on it, of course, with the me and my glasses. I don't know, maybe it feels like the most consistent. It's also the one that I like the most, I'd say. Just because back home it's always like that, if you need something that's going to be tried and true, you toss one of those suckers on and you'll have a good day on the water. So
I love it.
I don't know,
Confidence.
maybe that's it. Yeah, I'll take it. I don't know.
Great answer, man.
Diving in myself a little bit here.
No, that's an awesome answer. That's a lot of good reasons to be a Copper John.
I like
you know what?
Copper John.
I can see Copper John.
Yeah.
It's a great fly. I never fish it for
Yeah.
no good reason. It's just like, those flies you just kind of forget about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
flies that
yeah.
have come and gone in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's true, man.
No, I know. I
a great
think
fly.
it's one of the first ones that I learned how to tie too.
Right.
And it's just like one of those ones that it's just like if I have it in my box and something's not going well, or like we're just like having a rough day on the water, for some reason throwing that sucker down there, usually I'll get a couple fish to move and stuff. So there's a practical reason why I like it,
maybe.
but if I were to go into the theoretical, that'd be my reason.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I mean, that's it for the Mitch's 55, and that's it for the show. I mean, David, thanks for coming on and
joining us in the woods.
Thanks for calling from the woods. Pretty much, that's the coolest I think place anyone's ever
It is
called.
the coolest.
That's cool.
100%.
And,
That's awesome.
We don't want you to get struck by lightning, so we'll call
Right.
it here. But
Yeah, fair enough.
where can people find you? And little bit of a plug time here.
Shameless.
Yeah, no, for
Shameless
sure.
plug.
Yeah. All right, I'll go shameless. So I have like one of the, the best channels. No, just kidding. No, the
Hell yeah, brother.
What as shameless as I can. No, you guys can find me TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. It's all very good fly fishing is the handle, and just trying to post some fun little things from our adventures and some little content here and there, and hopefully you guys can see like my personality, get to know me through the accounts and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, go follow along. We'll have some fun. You'll see a bunch of the SoFly guys on my page every once in a while, and we'll keep that trend up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's fabulous. We'll post links to all your stuff in the show notes. And yeah, David, thanks again for coming on. It's been swell. And take care. We'll see you soon. We'll have to do
Thanks
a show
for
next
having
time
me.
in person.
Bye, David.
Take care,
David.
David.
Bye, David.
Love it. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Cheers.